They cuffed a black woman on the sidewalk. For a tail light, she whispered 5 words and triggered a federal takedown. You're about to see what happens when the system grabs the wrong one and realizes too late she wasn't alone. Leave a comment below to let us know where you are watching from, and if you like fascinating stories like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because tomorrow we have another incredible story, and there are many surprises waiting for you in the next parts. The sun had barely set when Officer Ryan Donnelly lit up the rear of a black SUV near King and Broadmoor. Broken tail light, routine stop, or so he thought. But when the window rolled down and Talia Monroe handed over her ID, something shifted. Not in her voice, she was calm, not in her movement, she barely blinked, but in the way that badge looked too sharp, too official, too unfamiliar for someone who looked like her. Ryan held it like it might bite him. "What agency is this?" he asked. She answered plainly, "I'm not at liberty to disclose that." His brows tightened. To him, her stillness felt like defiance. To her, it was control. He didn't believe her. Called for backup. 2 rookie officers showed up, wide-eyed and already uneasy. As the 3 men circled her SUV, Talia didn't flinch. She wasn't rattled, and that scared them more than if she had screamed. "Ma'am, step out of the vehicle." She did. "We're going to place you in cuffs until we can verify your ID." She nodded once. "You're making a mistake." "You can explain that at the station," one rookie muttered. People walking by started filming. A teenage girl in a red hoodie shouted, "Yo, you cuffing her for a busted light?" But the officers didn't stop. Talia turned slightly, just enough to tilt her wrist and speak softly into her smartwatch. She stood still with her hands behind her back, cuffed in front of a growing crowd, her calm slicing sharper than any protest. Her blazer slipped just enough to show an earpiece behind her ear, barely noticeable unless you were trained to see it. Officer Donnelly was, and now, for the first time, he hesitated. She hadn't resisted, hadn't lied, hadn't moved an inch outside the lines, but still, something didn't feel right. "Where are you headed?" he asked. "Home." "Where's home?" Her eyes locked on his. "Somewhere you don't have clearance for." That landed like a stone in his gut. Then it happened. Screeching tires. 2 black SUVs skidded to a stop half a block away. No sirens, no warning. Doors opened. 4 men in suits emerged. Fast, direct, no wasted motion. One flashed a badge, Federal Protective Service. "That woman is in our custody. Release her immediately." Ryan stepped forward, rattled. "We haven't verified her identity." The tall agent stepped in close. "You're about to trigger a national security incident." The rookie behind Talia paled as another agent whispered in his ear. Whatever was said, it dropped his shoulders and drained the color from his face. And right there, on that cracked sidewalk in Reston, under the glow of camera phones and streetlights, they realized the mistake wasn't the stop. It was assuming silence meant surrender. Talia Monroe wasn't just someone with a badge. She was the firewall they almost set on fire. And now that the real chain of command had arrived, someone else in that crowd, hoodie low, phone down, started backing away fast. But it was too late, because Talia's eyes had already locked in. "Target to quiet," she whispered, and just like that, the takedown flipped directions. Leave a comment below to let us know where you are watching from, and if you like fascinating stories like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because tomorrow we have another incredible story and there are many surprises waiting for you in the next parts. The black SUVs hadn't roared in like cavalry. They'd whispered. No lights, no sirens, just 4 men in dark suits stepping out with the kind of calm that makes people move without being told. One raised a badge, Federal Protective Service. The others fanned out, smooth and surgical. They didn't bark orders, they didn't shout, but the shift was seismic. The 3 officers surrounding Talia instinctively took a step back, unsure who was in charge anymore. It wasn't chaos, it was controlled collapse. And right in the center of it, Talia stood taller, still cuffed, still silent, but suddenly it was the street that looked wrong, not her. An agent approached, nodded once to Talia, then pulled a strange device from his jacket. Not a phone, not a scanner they'd seen before. He held it near her ID. A beep. Green light. Everyone felt it. The rookies froze. Ryan's jaw clenched. "Confirmed," the agent said flatly. "Agent Monroe, status active." And with that, the tension flipped like a coin in the air. No apology was offered, just the reality of their mistake folding in on itself. The cuffs came off, and the moment they clicked open, it wasn't just steel that fell. It was every illusion of control they thought they had. Ryan's voice cracked as he tried to gather words. "You can't just override. This is still my scene." The tall agent didn't even look at him. "Officer Donnelly, your scene just crossed into federal jurisdiction the moment you put hands on one of ours." Ryan stammered. "There was no way to know. Her ID—" "Wasn't the problem," the agent cut in. "Your training was." And that's when Ryan saw it. This wasn't about rules or policy. It was about reflex. The kind that still defaulted to doubt when the face didn't match the power. He wasn't questioning her badge. He was trying to protect his worldview. The crowd didn't cheer. They didn't need to. A different kind of silence settled. One that holds a mirror. The teenager in the red hoodie kept recording, angling her phone with purpose now. She zoomed in on Talia's wrists, now free, then tilted up to capture the agents encircling her. One bystander whispered, "So she was one of them?" But another shook their head. "No, she was more." Talia didn't acknowledge the crowd. She didn't have to. She simply adjusted her blazer, glanced down the street, and her expression changed. Her voice dropped barely above a whisper. "Target acquired." That was the first time anyone had heard her give a command. Every agent turned. She didn't point. She didn't run. She just looked. And they moved. A man near the back of the crowd, baseball cap low, hoodie up, turned and bolted into the alley. One agent took off after him without a word. Another peeled off to block the east end. The rest stayed with Talia, who now walked slowly toward the scene like she had all the time in the world. The rookie officer who had cuffed her earlier didn't breathe. Ryan's feet felt glued to the pavement, because whatever they had thought this was, it had just become something else. The alley chase ended hard. No gunfire, no shouting, just a pop from a launcher and a gasp from the crowd as the suspect dropped. The agent returned, dragging a man who wasn't resisting, only limping. A wire was found under his hoodie. No mic. A tracker. Talia stepped forward, her voice razor-sharp. "So the stop wasn't random, it was planned. My route was fed to them." She turned, eyes locking with the officer who had searched her. "Someone inside your precinct coordinated this." Ryan's mouth went dry, because the stop, the questions, the cuffs, weren't just a mistake. They were a distraction. And now everyone on that street was watching something much bigger unravel in real time. So if you ever thought silence meant someone had nothing to say, remember this. Real power doesn't speak to be heard. It speaks to move. And if that moment moved you, don't just scroll. Think. Speak. Ask questions, because the next time the system picks the wrong one, the consequences might not be reversible. Talia didn't push the precinct doors open. She let them open for her. This time, no cuffs, no hesitation, no sideways glances. Her badge didn't need announcing. The building remembered her the way ghosts do, uninvited but undeniable. She didn't blink at the desk officer who stammered at the sight of her. She didn't stop when Ryan's name echoed down the hallway. She moved like someone who knew where the cracks lived. The same walls that once whispered about her were now echoing with a silence so thick it peeled paint. She wasn't there for confrontation. She was there for confirmation. Because ghosts don't haunt, they audit. In the server room, the air felt colder, as if the wires themselves were holding their breath. She scanned her card. No red flags. The system welcomed her like it always had, quietly. One beep. Green light, door unlocked. She stepped into a space most officers didn't know existed, let alone entered, pulled a secured flash drive from her coat, slid it into the terminal like a blade through butter. What she was about to collect wasn't for review, it was for record. The log she downloaded tracked internal communications, route pings, call relays. She wasn't chasing ghosts. She was about to prove who invited them inside. Ryan found her in that moment. His voice behind her cracked like a dry branch. "You just walk in like you own the place?" She didn't turn. "I don't need to own it. I built the part that works." He moved beside her, tense. "I was doing my job." She finally looked up, not angry, worse. Pity. "No, you were doing what the job has always looked like to people like you." His mouth tightened. She stepped closer. "You didn't see a lie in my badge. You saw one in the face holding it." He looked away. "I made a mistake." "You made a decision." The server beeped. "Transfer complete." She pulled the drive, her tone flat. "We'll see who else did." Then came the real chill. The door creaked behind them and in stepped a man who didn't belong, but fit in too easily. Chase Lorne, former CIA, trim, smirking, wearing the kind of smirk that only survives through betrayal. "Well," he said, voice like a blade through velvet. "Didn't think I'd see you in uniform again." Ryan looked at her. "You two know each other?" Talia didn't blink. "He worked with me." "Briefly. Until he disappeared mid-lock," Chase chuckled. "Disappeared is such a heavy word. I call it a strategic exit." "So strategic," she said calmly, "that 3 agents ended up dead." The air dropped 10 degrees. Chase smiled wider. "That's your version." "It's the one with bodies," she replied. He stepped closer. "So, what now? You gonna audit me?" She didn't answer. She simply pulled a recorder from her pocket and pressed play. His voice filled the hallway. "She always takes the same route. Leaves by 7:10, I can guarantee it." Ryan flinched. Chase didn't. That clip doesn't prove anything. But his eyes betrayed him. She leaned in. "Betrayal doesn't shout. It whispers your name into a phone line." Ryan moved first, stepping in front of Talia. "You need to step back," he said. His voice wasn't loud, but it was new. Then came the agents, silent as breath. They didn't rush. They didn't bark. They flanked Chase like chess pieces falling into checkmate. No cuffs yet. Just inevitability. When they did place him under arrest, it wasn't a tackle. It was a signature on a document that had already been written. Ryan handed over the evidence. Talia watched, arms folded. Chase still tried to sneer. "You think this ends with me?" She didn't reply. She didn't need to, because justice didn't raise its fist today. It pulled out a folder. "So if you think silence is weakness, ask yourself why every system built to silence people is so afraid of the ones who don't flinch. If this part made you think, don't just sit there. Share it. Spread it. Because some stories don't scream. They whisper and still shake the walls." The tunnel under Frying Pan Road wasn't on any public city plan, and that was exactly why Talia picked it. It was one of those Cold War relics, originally built for emergencies no one ever thought would happen, now repurposed by those who understood emergencies. Don't wait for permission. The air hung thick with dust and damp concrete, and the hum of old wiring seemed to buzz with secrets. Ryan followed close behind, his boots scraping along the gravel. He was quiet now, not from fear, but focus. Talia had said, "Eyes on the corners." Ashir moves like he's whispering to the walls. And she wasn't kidding. These weren't tunnels. They were memory foam for crimes no one was supposed to survive. They didn't have to go far. Just past the 3rd junction, Ashir was waiting. Mid-40s, lean, sharp eyes, calm as ever. He didn't run, didn't flinch. He just stood there, silver case in hand like he was delivering a pizza instead of global consequences. "You were always the sharp one," he said, his voice calm, unhurried. "And you," Talia replied, "were always too quiet." The case between them might have held diamonds for all its tension. "Tell me what's inside," she asked. "You already know," he said. "That's what scares me." And in that line, the room seemed to exhale. Because this wasn't about curiosity, it was about clarity. One wrong move here didn't mean someone dies. It meant entire networks vanish. Then came the shadow that shouldn't have moved. A second presence. Vexley stepped into view, gun drawn, sweat dripping like oil off his temple. "Put the case down," he said, voice too steady for a man that terrified. Talia didn't blink. "You're not supposed to be here." "Neither are you," he said. "But I came prepared." He didn't aim to shoot, he aimed to end the thread. That case disappears, no one asks questions. And there it was, the difference between silence for safety and silence for erasure. Vexley wasn't here to win. He was here to delete. Talia shifted. "You think I didn't record the alley?" she asked, pulling her smartwatch slightly forward. "You think I didn't make sure your face and your voice were uploaded to 6 different secure drives the moment you drew that weapon?" Vexley flinched. "Bluff." "Test me," she said, stepping toward him. "And when your name trends beside the phrase domestic traitor, remember, this isn't justice. This is insurance." She nodded to Ashir. "What's in that case isn't a list of codes. It's a list of people, active agents, live operations. You send that overseas, and we don't just lose assets. We lose countries." For a moment, Ashir stood still, his hand on the latch. Then he did the last thing Vexley expected. He turned, slammed the case into Vexley's gut, knocking the gun sideways. "You lied to me," Ashir said, fury finally flickering behind his eyes. "You told me this was a dead drop. Intel, not lives." Vexley dropped to one knee, gasping. Ryan swept in, grabbed the gun and cuffed him before the dust settled. Talia stared at Ashir, measured and cold. "Why the change?" she asked. "You're not clean." He shook his head. "Sometimes survival is the first honest thing a liar does." Ryan called it in. "Gordon's. Containment requested." 2 minutes later, the feds would flood the tunnel like bleach, but standing there in the wet dark, Talia looked at the briefcase like it wasn't a victory, just a delay. "This wasn't supposed to happen here," she said quietly. "Reston was supposed to be quiet." She turned to Ryan. "But now, here will never be the same. And if you think foreign plots only land on foreign soil, think again. The tunnel may have ended, but the damage still echoes through every blind spot in plain sight. So if this story hit you, share it, because someone out there still thinks no one's watching. Prove them wrong." Inside the steel-walled federal annex, the briefing room buzzed with the sound of flipping folders and slow-brewed judgment. Talia sat on one side of the table, posture still, expression unreadable. 2 officials, one from counterintelligence, one from the Department of Justice, paced their questions with surgical control. "You breached protocol. You engaged a civilian. You operated without field clearance." Talia didn't flinch. She didn't raise her voice. She let the silence sit heavy before speaking. "And I recovered a federal access key, intercepted a domestic traitor, and prevented 6 agents from going dark." Her tone was not defensive. It was data. "You measured me by the rules," she added, "but I delivered by the outcomes." That's when the air shifted. They knew it. She knew it. And still, no one said thank you. They slid the body cam footage across the table like it was Exhibit A. Footage of the sidewalk stop, the cuffs, the moment she whispered into her watch, then the black SUVs, the agents, the reversal. It was all there. Truth, layered in time-stamped pixels. But no apology followed, just the sound of bureaucrats blinking at a story they couldn't file cleanly. Because when justice comes dressed in calm and competence, it doesn't fit the narrative, it interrupts it. Talia didn't ask for redemption. She knew better. In rooms like this, truth didn't get recognized. It got recorded, then redacted. Outside, Ryan leaned against the vending machine, coffee in one hand, regret in the other. When she stepped out, he didn't salute or explain. He just looked at her and said, "I'm sorry." She nodded slowly. "You weren't the villain," she said. "You were a mirror, one with fog no one ever wiped off." That silence? It wasn't heavy, it was honest. Because some lessons don't need loud, they just need listening. And Ryan, he'd started listening. Across town, the clip had already gone viral. "Black woman detained by mistake, federal agents intervene," read the sanitized caption. But the footage didn't lie. The teenager in the red hoodie had kept filming, hadn't blinked. The hashtags multiplied, but the story twisted. News anchors debated the traffic stop. Few asked about the briefcase, the case files, the tunnels. Fewer mentioned the names inside. Reston's storm wasn't truth. It was branding. And Talia watched from a distance, letting the misinformation swirl while she prepared for what mattered next. Behind the scenes, the system spun itself into cleanup. Vexley resigned from the planning office with a press release citing health stress. No charges were filed. Chase Lorne, gone. Black site classified. No lawyers, no trials, just empty records. Ashir, cooperative asset, the official summary read. But cooperation doesn't mean clean. It means usable. Cleanup doesn't mean resolution. Talia had once said to a rookie agent, it just means silence got a new coat of paint. And now the paint was drying fast. She drove out of Reston before dawn, the SUV humming down back roads like it knew the way. New assignment. Same war. She didn't run from shadows. She trained to breathe in them, because the world doesn't need more heroes. It needs witnesses who know when to speak and operatives who know how to act. If you felt that, then remember this. Share the story, not the silence, because somewhere someone just got pulled over. And what happens next may depend on what you choose to see. It started small, just a clip on a teenager's phone. The red hoodie girl never deleted it, not when the school tried to talk to her about discretion, not when someone from City Hall offered to compensate her for her footage. She didn't budge, because she saw what the others missed, the moment where silence held more truth than shouting. And in Reston, something subtle had shifted. Officer Ryan Donnelly now asked for names with a different tone, checked eyes before badges, stood a little longer before reaching for protocol. One town, one pause longer before assumption, because of her. Talia stood in a rest stop bathroom hours from that place, hands still, heart steady. She didn't check the mirror for approval. She checked for focus. The kind of focus you earn, not find. Behind her eyes wasn't anger. It was clarity. That brand of justice that doesn't need an audience. Only purpose. She washed her hands slowly, like she was letting the last fingerprints of Reston go. She didn't need vindication. She needed forward motion, and she had it. No medals, no headlines, just the clean silence of knowing she did not blink. By the time she reached the outskirts of Nashville, the world had already moved on. But Talia hadn't. Her mission had pivoted, not paused. A new thread, a new name. This time she wasn't walking in blind. This time the system would get no grace period. Not after what it tried to do in the dark. The whispers in this town already carried weight. A judge too clean, a surveillance feed too quiet, and the same contractor. Tourist Solutions threaded through the city's infrastructure like a ghost with keys. She wasn't chasing shadows, she was about to pull the curtain. The file in her lap outlined multiple breaches, minor anomalies, delayed diagnostics, subtle reroutes. Harmless on paper, devastating in sequence. This wasn't a glitch, it was a strategy, and Talia didn't hesitate. Because justice doesn't retire, it reloads. While the world debates decorum, she deciphers patterns. While others file complaints, she makes moves. The city may think it's running on systems, but it's running on silence, and she's about to interrupt that silence with the kind of truth that doesn't need to shout. It just shows up with receipts. And now it's your turn. Because stories like this don't always end with applause. They end with awareness, and awareness is the beginning of everything. So, if this story left you thinking different, moving different, hold that. Next time someone like Talia hands you truth, don't just take it, protect it, share it, elevate it. Because real justice doesn't always come in headlines. It comes in moments, in cameras that stay rolling, in questions asked 1 second earlier, in a pause before the pullovers. That pause can save a life. That pause can be everything. So remember her face. Then make sure the next one isn't alone. Leave a comment below to let us know where you are watching from, and if you like fascinating stories like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because tomorrow we have another incredible story, and there are many surprises waiting for you in the next parts.